Good evening. This is the call to order to the regular Board of Aldermen meeting at the Salado Municipal Building at 301 North Stagecoach Road in Salado, Texas. The date is January 16th, 2025, and the time is 6:30 p.m. Ms. Bean, please call the roll. Thank you, ma'am. As we begin this Board of Aldermen meeting, let us take a moment to reflect on our shared commitment to serve the diverse community of the Village of Salado. We invite all present, regardless of faith, belief, or philosophy, to join us in a spirit of unity, respect, and compassion. May our deliberations be guided by wisdom, our decisions rooted in fairness, and our actions driven by the common good. Whether you find inspiration in a higher power, the bonds of humanity, or the wonders of nature, let us work together to build a culture where every voice is heard and every individual is valued. Let's take a moment, please. Thank you. Please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance and the salute to the Texas flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the the flag. Pledge allegiance to these Texas, one state, under God, one individual. Thank you. Item number 1, public comments. The Board of Aldermen welcome comments from citizens on issues and items of concern not on the agenda. Those wishing to speak must sign in before the meeting begins and observe a 5-minute time limit when addressing the board. Speakers will have one opportunity to speak during this time period. Speakers desiring to speak on an agenda item will be allowed to speak when the agenda item is called. Inquiries about matters not listed on the agenda will either be directed to staff or placed on the future agenda for Alderman consideration. First, we have Ms. Linda Reynolds.
Linda Reynolds, 10, no, I've lost mine. 1110 Mill Creek Drive, Salado. I attended the P&Z meeting the other night. I was kind of surprised that as they discussed the plan for the building over next to the or back of the McDonald's, that there were not many questions about the design, the general thought of it. And it seemed kind of odd for me because they've been so busy thinking about trying to control everything on that side of the highway. The plan that you have before you that I just looked at kind of a little bit immediately struck me. It's like that old song with paved paradise and put up a parking lot, although I know it's not paradise over there, it was just an old farm. But it looked like a whole heck of a lot of parking spaces for some reason. And it turns out that although in the paper it said there were 113 parking spaces, it's actually twice as many as that for some odd reason. And it seems like we would be better off to just keep it to what's required in terms of a plan and not have 120 extra parking spaces over there. Number one, we all know that's going to be a nightmare in terms of parking and construction and building and everything going on over there anyway. But I'd hate to think that down the road someone suddenly decides, hey, we can't really make enough money on a building there, a one-story building of 30,000 square feet. Maybe we should put an apartment building there. And oh, guess what? We've got 120 extra parking spaces for those apartments. I know there's a lot of pressure. I've been reading the Awesome paper. They're building apartments, building like crazy there. We don't know what's going to be at the wildfire yet, that you're going to have to pay for sewer for them. We're going to have to provide sewer. We don't know a whole lot of other development that's going on. I just wish we could when you talk about the plan, to consider cutting it back to just the 113 or that are required by our ordinances. And then if they build the building, and it is truly a building, and they suddenly feel they need all kinds of extra parking, that can be negotiated. But it seems to me, even if you're bringing in 4 or 5 other offices, I can't imagine all those buildings, those other buildings have 233 parking spaces. So something didn't strike me as right. And I thought I'd never complain about parking spaces in Salado, but it did look weird to me when I looked at the design, and I only just thought it. And nobody brought this up at the P&Z, so I thought I'd bring it up here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Jim Boynton?
Jim Boynton, 3565 FM 2843 Salado. One of the things that the government always likes telling us, if you see something, say something. Well, I think everybody here realizes I've seen a lot and I've said a lot, and it seems like some of this stuff is being forgotten. So we got a new council here nowadays, so I'm going to repeat some things that we talked about 2 or 3 years ago. I had a phone conversation with the mayor this week and discussed this. I mentioned it to me on a couple of occasions. All we have to do is look out to California and see what could happen here very easily. I'm not over exaggerating. The mayor's a former firefighter in this town. It'd be very easy to get a south wind and get fire jumping from building to building, coming right down the creek, all the way through Salado. And the reason we're ill prepared is, number one, we don't have enough firefighters. Number two, we don't have a ladder truck. Number three, but I think most importantly is, we have no water. Just like in California, you want to see what it's going to look like, go look on Fox News and watch that fire burn up and down those ravines. It's not a lie. It's not a figment of my imagination or anybody else's. The threat is real, and it's real here in this town. There's no way that if that fire starts jumping down that ravine, the fire department's ever going to hold it off. And my son's in-laws' house, the house across the street, the guy that runs the wealth place that lives in, they're not going to hold it off that. They're going to burn down with the rest of it. But it's going to come right down the creek and burn up barrows. And once it gets on the creek, don't think because we got water and creek running through it, that's going to slow that fire up. When it gets in the top of the trees, and just like out in California, it jumps tree to tree. You're going to have it in the middle of Mill Creek in a heartbeat. We have no water to speak of. I've asked for the water map for about 3 years. I've been denied building permits before because I wasn't close enough to a fire plug. I am close enough to a fire plug. Those houses are within 500 feet of a fire plug. Guess what? I don't know that that fire plug's ever been flowed at a fire. I don't think it's ever been tested. They're not going to talk to the former mayor or the mayor that put in the sanctuary. They're not going to talk to him. They're going to come talk to you guys. And it's unfair because a lot of this could have been helped 2 years ago when I was pushing hard to get rid of the former mayor and city manager because of the corruption, and we couldn't get 3 votes to do it. We couldn't. We should have. We should have run them out of town on a rail, and we didn't. We looked the other way as usual. I want you to understand, all 5 houses I've built over there got down to the point of me getting an attorney and threatening to sue the mayor or the city manager on every house. They did everything they could to hold us up, cost us money. We have no infrastructure. We have a council member who's told me that he tried to hook onto the sewer. They said, tell us how much. Nobody ever got back to him. What has happened is corruption for years. But now we have a good example of what's out there on the horizon. It looks like to me that we could at least figure out some way to get a hold of the water department and figure out what size of lines we have. The roads up there on that sanctuary apartments are too narrow. What did they do in California? People abandoned their vehicles. They had to get in there with the dozer and push them out of the way. The whole thing will be burned up before you get to that point. We don't have water. How are you going to get in and out of it? What guy is going to come fight it? We don't have any firemen other than maybe the fire marshal and the fire chief that have ever fought a multi-unit fire, something bigger than a duplex. We don't. We have no experience. You don't, with a Quint, it takes a special guy to operate that thing, and he's got to have good firemen with him. We don't have any of that. We're going to have to start planning, or we could be just like them. I appreciate your concern. I know you're doing what you can with this massive budget screw up. Y'all are. But we need to look out there and see what's going on with the rest of it too. Thanks.
Anybody else? Nope. All right. Item 2, consent agenda. A, approval of minutes of December 30th, 2024, special Board of Aldermen meeting. B, approval of the minutes of January 2nd, 2025, regular Board of Aldermen meeting. Acceptance of the Police Department monthly report and acceptance of the Tourism Department monthly report. Mr. Del Rosa, do you have anything you want to add to that? No. Alderman Graham, do you have any questions?
One question for the chief. Chief, do we have a status on the investigation regarding the escrow and things of that nature? And when's the last time we asked about it? Without getting into the details of the investigation.
I've spoken with Angela Mitchell, the forensic auditor assigned by the Attorney General's office, multiple occasions. I can tell you a little bit about her response. And she stated, I've had time to review the bank records and financial statements, and while I agree the funds should have been placed in separate accounts, I do not see any fraudulent activity. So we are continuing the investigation, and we are looking at other avenues.
Thanks, Chief. That's all I have.
Alderman Hurst.
No question.
Alderman McDonald.
No questions, Mayor.
Chief Fields, real quick. When you say evidence of fraudulent activity, as I understood it in that correspondence, that was specifically, there was no evidence of any sort of embezzlement or anything like that, correct? Okay. That's it. Thank you.
Mayor, if I may, before there's correspondence, it's unofficial because it's not come from a letterhead. Right. So it's just all so far. There's still an investigation going on. So once we have a written letter and it becomes a public record, that will be available.
Thanks, sir. All right, any public comments on the consent, anything on the consent agenda? Nope. All right, open the floor for motion.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as written.
Motion made by Alderman Hurst to approve as written.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Graham. Any further discussion?
Question.
Question called by Alderman McDonald. All in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented, say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. Any abstentions? This being that passes 3-0. Item 3, discuss and consider possible action regarding any item removed from the consent agenda. There are none. And number 4, Village Administrator's Report, the sales tax collection update. Mr. De La Rosa.
Okay, Mayor and Alderman, you'll see that for the November 2024, we collected $77,995 for the administrator. So down a little bit from certainly from 24, 24, 23. So, okay. Any questions about the sales tax?
Alderman Graham?
No.
Alderman Hurst? No question. Alderman McDonald?
No questions, Mayor.
Any other questions?
thank you. Item 5, discussion of possible action. A, discussion and possible action on rescinding the December 19th, 2024 conditional approval of the Salado Sanctuary North Tract final plat. Mr. De La Rosa, please.
Okay, you might recall December 19th that we presented a final plat for your consideration. During the presentation, I recall, Ms. Pence made 2 comments that caught my attention. One was about the wastewater easement. You might recall that they purchased property between the Salado Sanctuary Development, the North Tract, as we know it, from the northern boundary along the creek, doing easement to Royal Street. I recall because I walked that next door to the Boynton development. One of the notations was, hey, with the easement. I thought that this was going to be recorded, or at least it was going to be conveyed by plat or some other instrument. Apparently, they recorded an instrument from the seller to Watershed, not Sanctuary. So that certainly we're reviewing those documents to make sure before I can recommend that it be accepted, transferred to the village, and accepted by the Board of Aldermen. But then we were looking at Nottingham Street, and there was some confusion between our engineers about Nottingham roadway, which intersects South Main Street within the Salado North Tract, the Sanctuary North Tract, with the roadway that's in the Sanctuary East Tract that goes from the amphitheater southward for FM 2268. That one was kind of a handshake deal with the secondary ingress egress. So this one had a cul-de-sac with an easement notation. Going back to the 2015 agreement, it's out of interpretation, certain my interpretation, that it still needs a cul-de-sac. So I had that, we've had that conversation with our engineers, and there's still a little bit of disagreement whether the developer believes it's required. He's got to show an agreement where it's exempt. So rather than continue, I don't like going to additional approvals on a flat for longer than 30 days. After the holidays, usually 2 weeks, but we're still pending some information or how they're going to resolve it. My concern is if you approve the plat with notations without an agreement and it's going to be built without a performance on something, you may be obligated to build that cul-de-sac that turn on at the end of Nottingham roadway. So it is my recommendation that you rescind the conditional approval and just amend it.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Graham.
No questions.
Alderman Hurst. No questions. Alderman McDonald.
Yes, Mr. De La Rosa, have you had any communications with a developer based on this conversation at all?
Yeah,
They are aware of what we're talking about here?
they're aware of it.
Okay, thank you. No further questions, Mayor.
All right, any public comments on this agenda item? Nope. Okay, I will open it up to a motion.
Make a motion that we rescind the conditional approval of the plat and deny the plat accordingly as discussed.
Motion made by Alderman Graham to rescind as discussed.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman McDonald. Any further discussion? Question called by Alderman Hurst. All in favor of rescinding the December 19, 2024 conditional approval of the Salado Sanctuary North Tract final plat, specify by saying yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. Any abstentions? This means that passes 3-0. B, discussion and possible action on rescinding the December 19, 2024 approval of authorizing the applicant Sanctuary Development Company, LLC, to post a cash performance bond and execution of performance agreement regarding the Salado Sanctuary North Tract final plat. This is just an extension of that.
It's an extension of the first item that we just discussed.
Anything else to add to that? Okay, Alderman Graham, you have any questions?
No questions.
Alderman Hurst? No questions. Alderman McDonald?
No questions, Mayor.
Any public comments on this item? Nope. Then I'll open it for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we rescind the approval of the authorization of the applicant's plat, as written in item 5B.
This is for the approval to post the cash performance bond.
Correct.
Not the plat. We've already
Oh,
moved on the
I
plat.
stand corrected. All right, so we're actually rescinding the applicant's request to post a cash performance bond and execution of a performance agreement regarding the north track and the final plat.
Thank you, sir. Motion made by Alderman Graham to approve rescinding the approval of the cash performance bond and execution of performance agreement regarding the Salado Sanctuary North Track final plat. Seconded by Alderman Hurst. Any further discussion? Question called by Alderman McDonald. All in favor of rescinding the approval to post a cash performance bond as presented, say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. Any abstentions? Ms. Bean, that passes 3-0. C, discussion and possible action on approving the D.R. Horton North Central Texas Office Concept Plan proposed in the Eagle Heights subdivision at the intersection of Williams Road and West Village Road. Mr. De La Rosa.
I'm gonna let Ms. Pence take the introduction.
Oh. Hey, Ms. Pence.
Good evening, Mayor and Alderman. This evening in your packet, you have the concept plan for D.R. Horton's North Central Texas office. Block 1 of the Eagle Heights Development commercial lot is the proposed property, and it is currently zoned LR, which is local retail. This evening, we do have a representative from D.R. Horton that will be sharing the concept plan, and we'll go over this project with you in detail. And we have Mr. Michael Wilson, who is the land development manager for D.R. Horton. If you have any questions for me, if not, I will allow Mr. Wilson to come up.
Okay. Alderman Graham, you have any questions?
So it's zoned local retail right now, based off a concept plan. Is that going to require a rezoning?
It is not. Office space falls underneath local retail, and that local retail zoning has been zoned due to the Eagle Heights development agreement.
Okay. And then that being said, with block 1, that means that whatever goes in there has to be within that local retail zoning classification. It couldn't be apartments or houses or things of that nature.
Correct.
It would require a rezoning of that property prior to anything like that getting approved, correct?
You are correct, sir.
All right, thank you. No further questions.
Alderman Hurst. Okay. Alderman McDonald.
No questions, Ms. Pence. I'll just wait for the presentation.
Thank you. The other part of this that I have, I guess, a comment, it kind of ties in with what Ms. Reynolds said about the parking lots and parking spaces over there and everything else. This is not really something that we could have said. No, they are in accordance with everything. They look at the parking spaces and the impervious services and all that. It all falls within what we say it has to be. So there's not any sort of variation there that they would need to ask for. And they bought the property. They buy the property, it's theirs. We can't, as long as they meet the requirements, we can't really say much about it.
You'll notice that there's a 60-foot setback along the south property line and on the western side of the development. Anything that backs up to the residential areas, so they noted that it kind of curves around the type of commercial, so they've maintained the setback. There is still a lot of land available, even on the back of that building before you get to that 60-foot setback. So they set up a future extension. They could do a lot. I mean, there's still a lot of undeveloped land. This is a 6-acre site. 33,600 square feet. Board, let me, if they were to submit a plan and not submit the concept plan, it would have not, you would not have seen it. There was no, we explained that there was no reason to present that. They're supposed to present a concept plan. I find that admirable, but that's not very often. But if you got building permits, it's already known, it's all the requirements, it's LR, you may have some questions, and I did, when, one of the questions, we looked at again was the loading zone, with the loading dock. Well, there's a section that says that about all retail and similar non-residential structures shall provide in the shopping category. So it's in the local retail, they're not local retail, they're an office, which is an allowable use along with, a bed and breakfast in that development. In that zoning classification for local retail. So whether they decide to put the loading zone or not, I think it looks like whatever storing. And I think I prefer that the gentleman walk you through how he plans to utilize that 33,000 square feet. It says that he sells it, and a retail shop goes in there. That loading dock would be there. So it's allowed in this zone. Okay. So any other questions for me?
Have we looked at a traffic impact analysis on this?
No, sir, it's not required because it's already been annexed and zoned. If it was new development, we have any sort of discussion. You ask for a traffic impact analysis when you don't do the subdivision, the plating process. Not so that.
I guess my follow-on question would probably be more for the developer, which is, what kind of throughput are we looking at in terms of cars in, cars out, traffic activity at its peak? But
the only thing I would recommend that we not approve is a cafeteria for every one of its employees. Eat and dine in the house. Thank you.
Okay. You want to hear from the gentleman first, or you want to? All right, you want to come on up, sir?
Good evening, Mayor and Alderman. My name is Mike Wilson. I'm with DR Horton. We're actually currently office out of Temple. We have about a 15,000 square foot office space right now. We actually, some years ago, we bought an existing bank at the intersection, close to intersection of I-35 and Jogging Loop. We added on to that bank. We initially had our administration offices, and the mortgage office and the title office all in that same building. But we grew and kind of displaced the mortgage division and then the title company division. So they're in two separate structures. And so this move to Salado was a desire to consolidate them all in one office building. And what we have planned for the office building is our administration. You got to understand our region, North Central Texas region, goes from West Texas, just north of Waco, down to Georgetown. Our southern boundary is Highway 29, and we go all the way to Burnett and Marble Falls on the west side. And on the east side, we go all the way over. We actually have Taylor as well. And then we jump down Highway 79 to Bryan College Station, the Brazos Valley region. We've got home building there in Bryan College Station, Navasota, the whole Brazos Valley region. And then we hop, skip, and jump over Houston, over to Beaumont and Orange. So our office manages a pretty large area. At one time we also had Corpus Christi. So we are pretty expansive in our region that we govern. So our administration is overseeing all those areas. We also have design in our office building. We have marketing. We have obviously land development. We have construction, and we have sales. So that office is going to be very, very active. And the question with regard to parking was that we're going to have we have weekly meetings where we have construction superintendents that come from these various areas and consolidate in one space to meet. And then we also have sales agents once a month that come in and they concentrate in our office and meet. So we're going to have a lot of out-of-town businesses coming into Salado. for the benefit of the larger restaurant. And by the way, we're looking forward to visiting Johnny's and then the new Monument Cafe that it's later on. That was a definite bonus. But with regard to Ms. Reynolds' comments regarding if we ever sold the building, the city of Austin's in a situation where they're looking to provide affordable housing. And one of the avenues they looked at was buying existing office structures that were vacant. And the feasibility study that they did showed that it was not economically feasible to convert an existing office building into an apartment. With this kind of parking ratio, I would more than likely envision that a medical use would probably come in at that building. If they did that, they would have to possibly rezone to the appropriate zoning category to do a medical use. But that type of parking ratio would lend itself to a medical facility. But we don't plan on vacating this office building. We're actually looking forward to occupying it for a very long time. We've got a vast majority of our workforce commute from Cedar Park, Round Rock, Georgetown area into Temple every day. So we're looking forward to commuting to Salado. Now, with regard to trips, there will probably be, I'd say, probably 300 trips a day in and out of that office building. Another aspect about the site is that we're at 45% impervious cover. That large area in the back will be utilized for detention, but also will be for amenities, maybe walking trails, what have you, for the employees. So we'll have some form of beneficial use to it. We're also providing a 5-foot sidewalk along Williams Drive, as well as along West Village Drive. So with that, if y'all have any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
How many employees do you anticipate working out of that building?
Right now, I think we're transferring about 100. I think ultimately we'll probably be 130, 140.
Then additional from your region that come in from as far away as Orange and Beaumont. Does that happen once a month?
Well, the sales force does. They come in once a month, but the construction superintendents come in every Tuesday. They are they have the whole parking lot because they show up at 7 o'clock in the morning. So the standard employees are parking next door or on the street. So basically, we need that parking space.
And how many is that you have coming in every week, approximately?
How many what?
How many personnel you got coming in on a weekly basis? Your construction superintendents. How many are coming in or weekly for their meetings?
I would think probably about 50.
They would need 200 plus parking spaces for sure.
Yeah.
Alderman Graham.
Now another thing too with the mortgage division, we're going to have customers buying homes coming in to close on the property. So we'll have quite a bit of traffic coming in.
Alderman Graham.
And you said the concept plan allocates for a sidewalk on West Village and Williams?
Yes, sir. 5 foot.
How many stories is the building that you're looking at?
The building will be 1 story.
1 story. Okay. That's all I have for right now.
Alderman Graham, the sidewalks are not a requirement to extend into that agreement. So
Yeah, no, I'm glad they're looking at doing them.
we're fully aware of the agreement.
That's a positive.
So we, again, I think
And need it.
Yes.
wanting to do it.
Well, we met with Manuel and the planning administrator, and we heard their request, to provide some pedestrian sidewalks in that area. So we were planning on doing that.
That's all I have.
Alderman Hurst. Alderman McDonald.
I have a few. Hello, Mr. Wilson. Hi. Hey. Thank you for coming and presenting this. Quick question, how long have you been at your current location as far as the one temple? And I know you're in 3 spots basically, but when you talk about the banquet you overtook that kind of spin, how long were you there, do you think?
I would think probably over 25 years.
Okay, that's pretty solid. And regarding any kind of general landscaping, what is your vision for the property's landscape? Are you going to put up any trees, anything to that effect?
Oh, absolutely. Trees and xeriscape, basically. Nothing doesn't require a bunch of water, but it's very attractive. Maybe Texas sage, and, maybe some perch cap, stuff like that.
Right on. And thank you for answering those. And my last question would be, based on the board's decision tonight, when are you looking at possibly making all this happen?
Well, that was what
Perception there.
what spurred this move forward was that we have a 50-day feasibility period that is just about up. And once that period's up, then we have a 30-day close. We're actually looking at closing in the latter part of February. Okay. And right now, we're already evaluating which engineer we're going to select. We're going to be, like I told Gina, we're going to be coming in earlier than we're going to be finished with the architectural drawings. The architectural drawings has a bunch of space planning and things like that that will dictate the arrival of their drawings for the building permit. But we have a bunch of site work that we can get going on. So we're going to go ahead and get our site plan approved through y'all and then also the fire district as well as the water district.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for answering my questions. No further.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Wilson.
Thank you.
All right, public comments.
Darlene Walsh, 1001 Mill Creek Drive. First of all, thank you so much for choosing Salado to move to. We look forward to having you here. And I just have a concern regarding, I don't know how many bathroom facilities your building will have, or kitchens or kitchenettes, or I don't know if you need laundry facilities or whatever. But I've never really, I've never heard lately what the capacity we have in our existing sewage system is. I mean, we have we've had a lot of building going on with different subdivisions. With of course, Sanctuary has all the capacity that they need per contract. So I just wonder, will we be able to take care of these people? We want to take care of them. And if we're going to need to expand, but they want to develop pretty quickly, will we be able to accommodate them? I just don't know what capacity we have in our existing system that we can provide to them. That's my concern. Thank you.
We'll have to address it at another time, but we're certainly paying attention to our capacity. And based on the developments that we have coming in, we're already looking at expansion and how we're going to be funding it. So mainly through developers.
Say that last part again.
That we are looking, that we are working with developers, and I've sent you some information on hundreds of acres of development. And the developers have agreed to step up to increase capacity, financial projects with us, and with us, we won't have to fund them.
Thank you, sir. All right, any more public comments? Nope. All right, thank you, Mr. Wilson, appreciate it. Ms. Pence, I will now open the floor for a motion.
I'm assuming the motion we're looking at here is the approval of the concept plan. Is that correct?
That's correct.
I'll make the motion to approve the concept plan for the North Central Texas office as provided by D.R. Horton.
Motion made by Alderman Graham to approve the the concept plan for DR Horton North Central Texas office.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman McDonald. Any further discussion? Question called by Alderman Hurst. All in favor of approving the DR Horton North Central Texas office concept plan proposed in the Eagle Heights subdivision at the intersection of Williams Road and West Village Road, specify by saying yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. Any abstentions? As being that carries 3-0. D, discuss a possible action on ratifying approval of a proposal from EGSW Environmental Group Southwest via Jacobs Engineering in the amount not to exceed $10,000 to rehabilitate odor control systems. Mr. De La Rosa, this rehabilitate, that says to me that there's already a system in place that just hasn't been maintained.
Yes, sir. There's a system that's been in place for a number of years. I came on board a year ago, and according to Jacobs Engineering, they have not seen it work for a year prior to that. So, and they have requested that they want to improve. So, that's why you're now looking at increasing cost about $9,300. There's an estimate, which is why I rounded it not to exceed $10,000 based on that dollar amount. I did not receive any objections from my request to move forward. This came about as a result of the comments that were made on December 19th. I was know we were working on it, so it's been evaluated. This is where we can get the system operational to what we had previously. There were other options made available, but we know this one works and this is more costly, which is why I recommended that we stay with the equipment we currently have.
Okay. Thank you. Alderman Graham?
No questions.
Alderman Hurst? Alderman McDonald?
No questions.
All right, any public comments on this item? Nope. I will open the floor for a motion.
Make a motion to approve the proposal from Jacobs, no more than $10,000 to rehabilitate the intersection.
Motion made by Alderman Hurst to approve as presented.
Second.
Second by Alderman Graham. Any further discussion?
Question.
Question called by Alderman McDonald. All in favor of approving the proposal from EGSW in the amount not to exceed $10,000 to rehabilitate the odor control systems, specified by saying yes.
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 Any opposed, say no. Any abstentions? That passes 3-0. E, discussion of possible action on approving the financial reports ending December 31, 2024. Mr. De La Rosa.
Okay, Mayor and Alderman, any questions on any of the line items or anything that I can address? And this would be a good time for us to talk about even the question that Ms. Walsh posed about the enterprise fund or the wastewater fund.
Looks like we're in the black.
We are finally getting it. You have seen that, you might recall that we've been working with Bush's paid, I can't even recall, $40,000+ in impact fees. They're currently working on the construction plans. We've come across other properties along Main Street and the Pine, some business fronting Main Street that have been connected to our system for years. We're calculating impact fees that they owe, starting to do some billing. So that reconciliation, so you're starting to see that enterprise fund finally get where it needs to be in the black. So, and we still know that we have a handful of folks to speak with. So, unfortunately for the Eagle Heights, the 10,000, I mean, the 10-acre size, 33,000 square feet, there's no impact fee. Go away by agreement. But everybody else, if we're going to this, we have trained the staff. There are 3 approaches to calculating wastewater fees. One is based on square footage of a property, and but if you have a 12-month period, we can utilize that. And then not, if it's just residential, then there's a $5,000, $1,500 impact fee to them. So depending on which of the categories of formula that we need, for example, if there's an existing business and they're expanding or adding another building, We can take that square footage and determine, because sometimes you go, well, I've already paid impact fees, and, you paid impact fees on this square foot. Fine. You're now adding capacity, and you're not gonna wash down anymore. So those are the kind of discussions we're having, and we're certainly getting into it as it's like. Any other line items, general fund?
No, but just real quick on that topic with the wastewater treatment plant and that development over there. It was not this board, just to clarify, that waived any fees, any impact fees or anything like that. This all stems from the original development agreement back in August of 2020 for Eagle Heights. That agreement's in place for 5 years with a little additional 180 day request to extend 1 year. And it's not specific to the developer, it's specific to the property. So we are once again getting hit by garbage agreements with previous administration that we're now going to have to basically pay their impact fees for what they have to do, and they're not paying for next year. So thank you for that.
Let me walk you through what I'm working on. A few weeks ago, I received a letter from the Sanctuary Development, the office manager, and hey, we have a November 2022 agreement with you that says you're to remit 1/2 of the property taxes, and we've got some plat files. So that is correct. You've amended. You have the Sanctuary 1B plat that was approved during 2024, and then a replat of a couple of lots. I've reached out to the Bell County Tax Office to help me calculate this. So now, let me make it what you're rebating the Sanctuary Development. You rebate, regardless of owner, run for the land, all impact fees. Okay? You also, you've approved a hit assessment of 50 cents, the maximum for a 30-year period, and you remit 50% of all property taxes. Sometime about November 2022 on when developments have occurred. We've had a lot in 2024, 23, 24. So based on when it hits the tax bill, I'm looking at it in consultation with our city attorney. You've got about 60 days at the end of the closing of the tax season, which is January 31st. That means by the end of March, we will be remitting all new developments within the sanctuary, 60% of all property taxes. Again, that agreement was approved in November of 2022. So it has taken me hours to read through this agreement, and then it took me better part of 2 days to figure out how to put an email together to Billy White at the tax office to help me with the calculations to make sure I don't make mistakes. So you will be getting a bill, I'm sure, when you get to do this. So sometime in the very near future, we're going to have to make these payments to development as part of that agreement. So, trying to let you know what you've got coming up on your budget.
And that, when that agreement was redone in 2022, I heard last year on the board discussion about that agreement coming down from 50 years to 20 years. Is that what it?
It was reduced significantly. It was either 20 or 30, I can't recall, but it was originally standing as 50. There were a lot of amendments that were put into that agreement that you're referring to in 2022 that were not in the original agreement that was done years ago. And it got us closer to good, but clearly not good enough.
Yeah. Remitting the property taxes is for 15 years. Remitting the hotel taxes once we start collecting is another 15 years. Let me see what I've got. I've got a development agreement, a First Amendment to a development agreement, a 380 economic agreement, an amendment to that economic agreement, a wastewater agreement, a tourism agreement. I think there's a total of 7. So yeah, without going through all the, I'm just trying to get through 2024 and 2025. So it might have been better. It is still, it's a hard pill to swallow. We are just giving up. My checks should not say Village of Salado, it should say Sanctuary. I feel I'm looking for them. So, again, I say that in jest. We will get through this, but it is something that, it takes up a lot of my time trying to go through development units and then seek our consultants to make sure that I'm making the correct interpretation.
Well, and I'll never forget when our lawyer brought it forward to us, and I don't think this was whatever session it was in, said we were fortunate to get the amended agreement that we got. So that just shows you how bad it was initially. So I have a question. Obviously, this is another one of those cases where we're leaving a lot of money on the table. How does that impact our current budget?
Well, considering that it's a liability, so as well as we thought that everything was, anything that was impactful on January 1 of 2024, we would be collecting now, we're not as fortunate as we are because we're going to have to remit some of those fun facts. And there's been a lot of residential construction, the apartments, commercial, a lot of those things. So, and it's not based just on the plat plan, it's based on development. It kind of is because the language has changed. The platting no longer triggers it. It's when the development occurs. But really, development doesn't really hit the tax roll until what's due on January 1st of every year. So there's some benefit to that. So most of the apartments that got built here recently, there's 7 units, 30 units in each, 7 buildings, 30 units in each building, 210 apartments. We're near completion. Some of it got completed in the last calendar year. They hit our tax rolls. So that's why there's a comparison from year to year to see what's changed, to see what we owe. It is certainly worded in their favor.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you're asking me,
I guess what I'm really asking you is that our income, our revenue that we anticipated for the budget that we are in right now, did it include that which is going to be remitted?
It did not.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
it's not like let's say, for example, we had a budget that was accounting for $1,000 revenue, and out of that there was 500 of it that we thought we were going to be getting, but now we're going to have to remit back. That is not the calculus that we used in building out this budget.
No, it wasn't. And I think if I recall going back, I was criticized for not over forecasting. There's a reason I'm very conservative in my forecasting.
Yeah. That's all the questions I have.
Alderman Hurst. Alderman McDonald.
Yes. Mr. De La Rosa, looking at line item 6208 under the police department.
What page at the bottom?
Sir, that would be page 3 of 5. Just to refresh, it shows $1,600, 100% for scroll support, correct?
Which line item again?
6208, sir.
Okay.
And we did not budget. I'm just making a statement. We did not budget for that, correct? That was not part of our standard budget because I see 0 for the annual budget.
No, yes, it was budgeted. It was budgeted in the overtime. I had it put as a line item because I like to keep my overtime of employees different from contract employees for example. Sure. So some of it is like performance-based budgeting.
Right.
This is exactly what we're spending. So that's why you'll see here it was never included in there. And keep me correct me. It was included in our overtime. The total. What I did is I put it in own line item so I could track it there.
Okay.
You transferred it to that one
I just
line item?
transferred it out of, I created it technically. We didn't spend it out of the overtime. It still comes out of the police department, but it didn't come out of one. It's just we created another line item for it.
Understood. No other fees associated with the stroll got paid beyond this then that we need to be concerned about? Alrighty. Thank you. No further questions. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. All right. Any public comments?
Tim Fleischer, I live at 912 Cedar Park Circle. And I'm gonna rub a little salt in your wound on sanctuary. You're talking about the 50% property tax rebate. Okay, the 50%, from my understanding of the agreement, the 50% tax property rebate does not go to the little old lady that buys the house that pays the taxes every year. It goes directly to the developer. Am I wrong on that?
That is correct.
It does not go to the person that pays the taxes. It goes to the developer for 15 years. Under the original agreement, that would have extended over 45 years. Under the original agreement, the hotel motel tax and the property tax rebates would have extended over 45 years. Because it would have extended from 15 years from the final building permit. And what I don't think anyone who read the original agreements in 2015 understood or cared, I don't know which, was that the hotel that builds in year one gets those rebates continue for 45 years. But the hotel that builds in year 45 only gets 1 year of rebates, correct? I think I'm correct on that. Another thing I want to ask the Board of Aldermen is that Chief Fields got up here and talked about what the forensic expert said was that money was not put into a separate account. It still has not been put into a separate account for the escrows that you owe. Please put some money into a separate account and take it out of your general fund. Because if it's in your general fund, the tendency of government is to spend their general fund. Please put money into a separate account for those escrows that are, we don't know when they're going to come due. We don't know if they come due in 2 years. We don't know if they come due next year. But please earmark those funds. Thank you.
We do have an escrow account, correct?
It's not a separate, it's not a separate account. You can put escrow funds into one account. Forfeiture funds, like what the police department gets, are kept in a separate fund. Okay, so generally cities don't, if it's general fund, they just live in there and you just type it to your, your typical pricing bills and ledgers and those type of entries. I can see that position, with, certainly the comment that was made. Look, my concern has always been some of our accounting. And today I spent probably an hour talking to various folks, not only with our accounting, our IT folks, trying to determine how best to handle our accounting. You get your financials from an accountant outside that are emailed to me. Unless you send through the details, which is the only way I can see this is every day, I have no way of logging in because it is on my desktop. It gets voiced to the cloud. But I can't see every day that's in there. So the conversation again today is, do we go from QuickBooks desktop to QuickBooks online? Do we use IT Express? There are other software programs and many of them are compatible. But I need to look at the funds every day, every week. I need to be able to track these steps. Right. So I know that our accountant, our auditor have access, and I can be given access. But as it goes get to that system, I cannot do it from this building. I cannot tell you if the chief says, hey, can I have my year to date? I gotta ask for the details to see where I'm at. This is not known. So I'm trying to see what the best process so I can see it on a daily basis. And I believe in segregating these funds. I believe in doing a lot of that way we don't run into these kind of issues. So, do we follow a lot of the industry standards for local government our size? Yes. Can we do better? Much better. But those are the frustrations that we face every day trying to know where our monies are at. How do we cut back certain services and can we live with less? And we can. And I've made it very clear to the mayor, our current tax rate is 48.6 per $100 valuation. I'm going to operate as if I'm operating at 36.12 cents per $100. Because that may become a reality. But you get $36.12 cents in services. But even at that, I still need to be able to price your money better than what I thought you get.
And like you said previously, you're in the process of working on a recommendation to bring forward to right set that.
Yes, sir. Okay.
So, I mean, we're doing something about it.
We did, and this is such a day. We've had this discussion for better. When we started doing the escrow agreements,
Yeah.
and we're about to have more of these escrow agreements, man, all of them, I get nervous. I want a better tracking mechanism. I'm not used to using consultants that I'm dependent on. I'm not where I have to drive to Temple to be able to see it online or wait and see details to be emailed to me. That is just unacceptable. Thank you.
Mr. Del Rosa, in regards to that conversation, I have a few questions for you, sir. One, do you know what the general regional industry standard is for us to have somebody on payroll to do that here in this building? First of all, that's one question. Two, what systems are you used to using in your prior administrations that you managed in the past that you found successful? And three, how long would it take to switch over our current systems to a system that you would prefer, regardless of which one you were thinking about at the moment to make that happen?
Well, the person that reconciles the bank statement shouldn't be the person that has to pay. We have very extremely check and balance. I mean, we're not having people guys go here with it because I've got access to our bank account. I can go and see that's been cut. Now that, because it's not the account, that's the bank. It's got a portal. I can access it. I can see what we've got. But the point is in the mayor and I, we've spoken, there are entities in this county that haven't reconciled bank statements in years. Well, we do reconcile. But it's the same person that went to check for it. It's just not a very good practice, and you don't have any software here, so technically you have 2 or 3 people, supervisor and employees, that are never doing the same thing, and you always want, I learned years ago, you always want your finance director, your finance manager, that staff to take dictation. That way you can see the book and you keep a better eye, right? Things come up. You don't have that type of check and balance. You don't have that type of coverage with human resources. And if you walk in this building on any given day, there's very few people and everybody's busy doing their own work. So if it wasn't, if my predecessors, whoever those were, the leadership didn't see those, those comments, I'm telling you, it makes me nervous as the administrator that I'm responsible for your finances, and I don't have an idea where everything is at on any given day without asking for it. So I don't know how many people, but certainly 1 to 2 people. I've got part-time. If they're a full-time, maybe I could. We don't, it's just because based on their hours, there's some cost savings and medical. I mean, and they enjoy it, but quite honestly, I don't have enough personnel to get everything I need done, which is why I'm dependent on, why you're dependent on consultants, and me just doing contract management a lot of times.
Would the risk analysis push us in the direction of bringing somebody on board to do this?
Look, there are towns this size that deal with this every day. Risk analysis is going to tell you what you should have. If you afford it. I'm just saying that with a little bit more, we can actually provide some better, more sets of eyes looking at it. So there are different people working on different parts of the accounting side, the collections. If it wasn't that I had the part-timers, the full-time folks, and you know what it is, it's Jennifer, Phelps, the Streeter, Spence, both residents. they're the bulldogs that make sure, you know, and I just had to sit down with Jennifer to walk her through the formulas because I give them the ordinances and I think they understand it. I came to the realization I had to walk them through and show them the different, you know, scenario or which formula fits in which type of development. You go, oh, but they, you know, I'm dependent on that because Letitia's the other permit first who handles permitting and phone calls and stuff like that. You see a lot of permits. And then Bureau Veritas does inspections, you've got an interim, you've got to keep an assistant, you've got to call on for. There's a lot of moving parts for small. Even if they're busy with development, it's not that that she's made my load easy. She actually carries a lot of it, so I can concentrate on the other items. Do you recall early on, I was operating in 2024. I was still operating in 2022, 2023. I could say that I'm happy in January of 2025 when we're just now starting to fill the areas that we want that weren't addressed. But I'm up to where I need to be, and now we're moving forward.
And the discussion about having an in-house accountant is something that Mr. Del Rosa and I talked about right shortly after I took office. It would be nice to have in-house staff to handle that, but we looked at it from a budgetary standpoint. We just don't need the money for it. It would be that's the ideal situation.
Maybe in the future.
Yeah. All right. Anything else, Mr. Del Rosa?
No.
Alderman Graham, you got anything else?
No.
Alderman Hurst? No. Alderman McDonald?
No, Mayor.
All right. Any public comments on this? Thank you, sir. All right. If there's nothing else, then I'll open the floor for motion.
Motion to adjourn.
No. We got item E.
All right. Full jump.
Make a motion to approve the finance reporting on December 31st, 2022.
Motion made by Alderman Hurst to approve the financial reports ending December 31, 2024.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Graham. Any further discussion?
Question.
Gentlemen, in the back. Mr. Simmons. Mr. Simmons. Thank you. Motion made by Alderman Graham and seconded by Alderman Hurst. No, sorry, who made that motion? Alderman Hurst, seconded by. All right. Any further discussion?
Question.
Question called by Alderman McDonald. All in favor of approval of the financial reports ending December 31st, 2024, say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. Any abstentions? As being that carries 3-0. Next item is adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, so moved, 7:39.